I hear you. You got to take the good with the bad.
Yeah, dude.
Lose it up top, grow it down low, vice versa, whatever works for you.
Yeah, does the carpet match the drapes?
Welcome to USA Fingerboard Podcast. I'm your host, Levine Cunningham, and I'm excited to be chatting with Michael Tucker of Milk Fingerboards. Mike is known as milk.fbs on Instagram. Michael, welcome to the podcast. Super stoked to have you on.
How you doing, brother? It's nice to see you. It's been a while, but
No, most definitely. I know this is going to be an absolute great episode. I know we've met probably like twice now, maybe in real life in person. So, like, we've got some history, lots of stuff to talk about. Milk Fingerboards has been on the rise for quite some time. So excited to get into that. But before we get started, let's tell people, like, what city and state you're out of.
so currently I live in Harrington, Delaware. I grew up for the most part in Delaware. I traveled a little bit, and for most of my life I was in Milford, Delaware, but I am in Harrington, Delaware at the moment.
The northeast states for me, always get confused on where all of them are. They're so like just tiny, and it's weird because I've driven through almost all of them, but like you can literally drive through one of those states in like an hour and not even realize like you left that state, I guess you would say. But
So Delaware literally is, I believe, an hour and 15 minutes from very bottom line to top line. You can drive through Delaware in an hour.
yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Have you been like a skateboarder or you've always been a fingerboarder?
So I was always kind of hell on wheels as a kid, and I started skateboarding at a young age. I was introduced to fingerboarding at a young age, but skateboarding is where it started, and I did that probably from somewhere between 5 and 8 years all the way up past high school, and just through life I kind of got sidetracked, and now for the past couple of years, milk and fingerboarding in general.
So then when did fingerboarding kind of get introduced to you and what did that look like?
So there's always two different starts for people. There's like the beginning of tech deck when you got introduced to tech deck and that kind of maybe collecting type of fingerboarding or kind of just playing with toys. And then there's like your wooden fingerboard, professional fingerboard journey that comes sometime down the line after that. But pretty much when I was younger, my family was not very well off. So all the cool things that I would get or see would come through cousins and stuff. And I remember we didn't have the internet or anything. I would go to my cousin Josh's house, and I think it was somewhere between 96 and 98. He had gotten a tech deck, and I remember like sitting on his counter and watching him open it. And I think he got a couple of them, and he was opening it, and I was sparks of mind blown, you know, all the tiny pieces on these tech decks. And mind you, I skateboarded at this time as a young man. So seeing it as model scale, super realistic, my mind was being blown the whole time. And after that day, sitting there playing with it with my cousin, I was like, God, I gotta get one, dude. And of course, like, my parents would never buy me one or whatever. So even such a cheap item like that. Maybe in that same year or the next year, I was in school and my shoes were too small. I know it's gonna get a little wild here. My shoes were too small. I couldn't tie them, and I was in a spec ed class. So we had two teachers. She noticed my shoes were too small, so she offered to buy me a pair of shoes. She brought in two pairs of shoes, and one of them had a fingerboard keychain, the plastic keychains like the
Okay.
McDonald's keychains everybody talks about, and it was
Hmm.
attached to the shoe. Of course, I picked that shoe only because it had the plastic keychain skateboard on it, and that was my first fingerboard. So I had
Huh.
that for X amount of years, and played with that while skateboarding with a skateboard with the nose and tail completely smashed in.
Hmm.
Um, so that was my first toy fingerboard. And then, of course, down the road, I would end up with used tech decks from my cousin, etc. And so that was my toy experience. And then later down the road, went through life and kind of get into the pro fingerboard thing here around COVID, same time you probably got back into the scene, probably a little after you did.
Hmm.
Um, I found the tech deck groups on Facebook. I was just blown away. So when this happened, when I found these groups, I joined and I seen this guy, Caden, posting in these groups, Caden Overhaul,
Okay. Your mom's favorite fingerboarder?
your mom's favorite fingerboard. And I seen him posting in these groups what I thought were just tech decks that he was putting stickers on or something of custom graphics like Mac Miller and old World Industries graphics or whatever, you know. And I guess I seen a picture of a side of it one time, and I had seen that it was wood. And this is the first time I had ever seen a wooden fingerboard ever. You know, notice his wheels had bearings in them and different looking trucks. They looked nothing like tech deck trucks, you know. So of course I was like bugged out. My eyes got wider, of course. So when I seen that, I was like, Jesus, this is def. I've always worked with my hands and I've always been a hobbyist. You know, I've always been a hobbyist and wanted to make things, you know. So when I seen that, I could do this. I could make my own, you know. So that's what I did. My wife ended up, I believe for like my birthday or something, had bought me a crappy plastic mold from somewhere and probably just something I found on the internet. And she bought that for me. It came in. I started pressing decks. And then, yeah, that's kind of how I got into wooden fingerboards uh, as far as that. And then eventually I found videos online of people making their own molds out of Bondo and concrete and stuff like that. So I took that route.
With all that being said, I mean, is there kind of like a local fingerboarding scene that you can kind of get tapped in and connected to, or is it always just kind of been more on the loner side?
All right. So that's a big problem around here. We live in a super small state. We are in between a lot of the major cities. We have Baltimore, Philly, and you know, Boston's X amount of hours. There is only one other fingerboarder that I know of. He came to your USA FBL Philly stop. I met him there, but he's just too young. He's not somebody that I could hang out with,
No,
you know.
understand.
But there is a scene, a couple different localized scenes up north past the Delaware state line into Pennsylvania, and there's some in Virginia. And the only time I'm ever able to see people is if I travel to your event or somebody's event in Philly or something like that, you know.
Is the Philly event from the USFBL tour, is that the first time me and you met in person?
The I think 2 years ago was the first time we met.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was
Yeah,
rendezvous or if it was USFBL events. So okay.
yep, USAFBL 2 years ago.
So we're at the Liberty Bell Hall, the really fancy venue
Yeah,
spot. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, and we tried to stick around and help you unload. I remember saying, "All right, everybody, it's time to go. We're going to start unloading. Don't stay unless you're going to help unload." And there was this one guy. The entire building's empty, and me, you, and everybody's breaking down these giant parts. And there's one guy with his camera, like, "Oh God, I'm not leaving." He's like fingerboarded the entire time while we're like, "Dude, what are you doing, man? Come on."
Oh, that's funny.
So
I've had people literally fingerboarding on the park while we're carrying it to the trailer. Like they were to the
Jesus.
last like seconds. Like,
Well, I guess if you only get to see that maybe once a year, it's like, and this is somebody's dream since they were a kid for some of these guys. So
oh, trust me, I get it. The hype is real.
yeah, dude, yeah,
No, that's awesome. I remember so I've been talking with you in the Facebook groups for probably a year or two before we even like met like in real life.
yeah,
Like so like for me, like, our history runs like even deeper than just that. And so because I remember so for people that don't are unaware, I basically have like two of the largest fingerboarding groups on Facebook. fingerboarding, tips and tricks, and fingerboard skate park builds. I mean, there are like 27, 30,000 people in these groups. And so we've had them for 3, 4 years. And being like having like a group that large and being able to literally like interact and see everybody, I feel like that's in the industry kind of like just chiming in, posting stuff, contributing, stuff like that. I get the opportunity to basically see companies like literally start and literally grow and literally just take off within my groups. So I get to see a lot of this stuff in real time. And so with you, I feel like I had that unique experience of basically being able to see you kind of get your start a little bit. I mean, you obviously were started before you kind of started posting to the groups, but like I remember when like you had a very small following until now, and you have this massive, I feel like you got a cult of like fan base people. Like they're just like, if like milk fingerboards was a religion, you would have like a full church, like everybody is just completely on board with what you got going on.
Shout out to the mouth boy.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, if you ask like, a lot of people, they're like, yeah, Milk Fingerboards is the best brand, best fingerboard decks. Like, I mean, I'm sure if you hosted a contest of like, getting the brand tatted, like I'm sure you might get some like fan base that's like gonna tat your brand on their chest or something like that. I
We
I
already have
love
it.
do you? I
Yeah.
believe it. I believe it. I'm like, your fan base is so dedicated and loyal. Like I am kind of jealous in a way, but at the same time, like I love it and I respect it.
Yeah, dude, we're all just guys, you know. We're all just dudes. We just do dude stuff. That's all, you know.
I think that all right, so let's kind of talk about you kind of being in these Facebook groups. I feel like you have helped, along with like, myself, you've helped probably hundreds of people just kind of feel their way through the fingerboarding deck making process, the fingerboarding like just shapes, just pretty much just mentoring people with all their questions and what they just kind of looking for and kind of getting their starts for sure.
The groups are a big thing. I started off, and like I said, the first groups I found was the tech deck groups. I didn't see the professional fingerboard groups until a little later, and I actually became an administrator in at the time what was the largest fingerboarding group, tech deck group in the United States. It had like 20,000 members. So at the time, it was the largest, and it was just a massive undertaking, we'll say, to help people through that and stop scamming and moderate issues. And for a long time, I can't see past in my head. I see all the negative in that group, and thankfully, finding the professional fingerboard groups, drags you out of that,
Hmm.
so to speak, because you see more positive and uplifting, more of a positive uplifting culture in professional fingerboarding than you do in the collectors groups. Which I can't, like I said, I got my start in those groups, making custom decks of old graphics and stuff. But yeah, man, just
It's a different
lots of
vibe.
headaches in that. Different vibe, dude.
Yeah.
Different vibe.
So when we kind of look back at it, like the mentorship, the leaderships that you kind of like position and roles like in those groups, I feel like has definitely helped you and your brand for sure. I feel like the more people that you helped, the more loyal, more faithful like people are to you and your brand for sure.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with people don't only follow a good product, they follow a good person, you know. And regardless what you may have had in your past, it's always about looking to the future and bettering yourself. And I think people will gravitate to people who have good customer service, and will speak to you like a normal person. A lot of these other brands, you try to message them, and they might talk to you in a certain way that, or not speak to you at all.
No, definitely. So, what kind of got you into making fingerboards? Like, tell me kind of like the process of just did you wake up one day and say, you know what, making decks is something I definitely want to start doing on a professional level?
I had joined the Tech Deck group. I've always been a collector. Of course, you can see behind me, I have a wall full of toys here. So I've always been a collector, and I've liked small things to tinker with, and I've always kind of been a little artsy and stuff like that. But like I said, I've seen Caden making these decks, and I was so interested, dude. I was so interested, and at the time, I've played guitar my entire life growing up, and my when my youngest daughter was born, she hated it, hated it. So I stopped playing guitar. I just I fell out of love with it, and I needed something. I needed something, and I knew I hadn't skated in years, and I was interested in skateboarding. I had got myself to a point where I was too unhealthy to skateboard, and I needed some hobby. So I seen Caden doing this, and I was like, I'll take a stab at it. Maybe get my daughters. My initial thought was get maybe it'll be something we could do with my kids. Of course, that didn't last long, but I did. I started making decks, and I always say this thing. When I started, I would do customs for people. So I got my start making customs, and that's how I got my practice to get to where I am today, to where I can make a good deck. And I always put it like this: say when you're in a band and you're playing in a dive bar, everybody always screams out, "Play Freebird!" Right?
Hmm.
Play Freebird. So that's what I was doing. I was playing Freebird when I first started. I was playing other band songs. I was making customs of old World Industries graphics and maybe like Naruto, and until the end of the show could play my original song.
Okay. Okay. So, all right. So let's talk about the brand back in the early days. So when you first started making decks, you went under a different name, which is kind of in your face and loud as a name, but we'll say it one time and then we're going to refer to it as triple FB after this. So,
You want to do the honors or should I?
um,
I'll do it. I don't want to put that word in your mouth. All right. So the original brand was Fingerboards. Bleep that out if you must. Go ahead.
no, I was going to say, so when I saw your brand originally, like in the groups and stuff, I was just like, this is extremely edgy. And you had like this whole culture behind it as well. And
Yeah.
so, like, I loved it at the time, but then, like, when I started getting into, we opened up our storefront in Indy. We had the USFBL headquarters in Indy with all the parks and all that other stuff. I was like, there's no way I can get you into my store with that name.
And that's the same thing. That's kind of where I was at with it. Was like when I started, it was nothing serious. I was just doing it, and it slowly became something that was like, okay, this is serious, dude. So that's kind of what happened with me. I realized that, and of course, there's small tagline stories that went along with it, where this isn't gonna last as something this vulgar. Nobody's gonna take me seriously. Um, and at the time, I had one of my team riders, Rock Fingerboards. She was on peak, so I started getting an influx of younger children trying to order my decks, and I didn't want packages showing up to their doorstep that said triple FB on the front of it. So I remember just kind of asking around, trying to get advice from friends, Dave Ware, and just a bunch of close, trusted friends, team riders and stuff. Like, what should I do, dude? Should I trash everything I've tried to build and rebrand? What is the move here?
No, of course. I mean, we had, at least two or three conversations on it because, like, at the time, you still are, like, people absolutely love your work, your decks, like, everything about the brand. I wanted to carry that brand. And so I was just in a situation where, like, there's just no way, I can
Yeah,
have that, like, logo or name, like, in the storefront. Like, I can't have little kids asking for that stuff. And so when we were, like, talking about it and stuff, like, I know you were talking about, like, wanting to rebrand, and I know, like, how scary that is. Like, for me, the thought of, like, if I had to rebrand USAPL and start something completely different, that's incredibly scary. And so, like,
yeah.
for you to be able to literally rebrand completely from that into Milk Fingerboards and do it successfully, honestly, I'm not even sure if that's ever been done in the fingerboarding world. Like, that is This is very, very impressive.
So I'm not sure if it's ever happened. It was just something that had to happen, you know. And like I said, we when we talked about it, it was like pretty much trying to beat into my thick skull, like, dude, you actually have to do this. There's no, you can't not do that, you know. So I remember just kind of sitting back trying to think of names, and I the thing was trying to get better for kids, right? Well, not just for kids, but just less vulgar
Mhm,
and better for kids. And in my head, I'm thinking like, well, what's the most friendly thing for kids, you know? And it's like a warm cup of milk before bed is the only thing I could think of as the friendliest kid thing out there. So it was either between milk, fingerboard, and and it was bread. Bread was the other one. I was going to be bread. So I remember asking you, and really, so like you said, it's scary, dude. So having people around you to guide you to the right path, trusted friends, and business companionship and stuff like that is in the groups. You know,
mhm.
asking people in the groups and supporters, like, dude, if I switch, is it still going to be the same for you? And of course, there's some guys, when I did that switch, they were more of the edgy guys that are, they'll never buy another deck from me again. But we can all see that, and hopefully it continues, it worked. And it worked very well. I had the best year I've had so far this year. So,
No, definitely. You're always gonna have a few people that aren't gonna like change. No one likes rebranding. Like I said, it's one of those scary things to kind of venture into the unknown, but you came out the other side, I feel like pretty much unscathed, in my opinion. And
swinging.
you're yeah. And so Milk now is the new name, and I love it. I don't know how or why you called it Milk. Maybe you can kind of elaborate a little more, I guess, on that. But
Yeah, so like I just mentioned, I like random things. I like things to not make sense, kind of. You know, I'm kind of I guess that's like a hipster edgy thing. I guess I don't know, dude. But like I said, I had the guy Rock Fingerboards on my team. He's a great guy, and I would take him back any day. He's sponsored by Blue now, which is a great company, so he's happy where he's at. But he's a good guy, and I just kept getting younger kids trying to order from me, and I just couldn't sell to them. I would literally tell them, "No, I'm sorry. I just don't want your." A couple times I said, "Do you want to ask your mom first? You know, can you ask your parents before I send it to you?" Or maybe I'll just keep the name off of the decks or something, because I was doing customs at the time. And like you were wanting to get me in your store, other people were wanting to buy decks and sell them, and I just couldn't. We had to do something, and that's where it came down to getting together um, with you and other friends and team riders, and just thinking of names, and thankfully I didn't do the old band name generator thing. You know, I just kind of like, um, I just sat around and thought about it, and like what was like currently happening to the brand, and really that's where my mindset was. It's like it was literally what's the most child friendly thing. And for some reason, I thought of one cup of milk. And then from there, I was like, well, what about bread? For whatever reason, you know? And so it was going to be bread or milk. And for a while, my last name's Tucker. So I was going to do finger tucked fingerboards for Tucker, but that was just sounded
almost as bad.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost as bad. So we ended up going with milk, and I'm happy we did. Um, I will say that we get a lot of the cliche, like, where's the cow? Or like, where's the have you seen me graphics? And it's just like, dude, if every skateboard brand did that, like for instance, blind, if every graphic was just like a blind dude walking down the road, you know, there
Mhm.
would be no cool stuff out there. So, I mean, we just make what we like, and
Well, I like milk. Milk is definitely the better route over bread, I guess you would say.
yeah, yeah, for sure, dude.
I am actually fortunate enough to have the last decks from Triple FB. I've got the robots, which I know tells a pretty crazy story. I'll get a better picture for you guys. And I got the first drop from the first milk drop.
Yep. So
So
I'll
last
tell you.
Triple FB and first milk.
Yep. And you, those are actually, I'll touch on those. Both of those are actually kind of special. Like you said, the first one tells a story with, in conjunction with another graphic I have. And then that second one was actually designed by Dave Ware, and it's called the Milk Funnel, and that's actually the first version of that graphic. We have an updated version of that graphic now, and actually that one wasn't on a drop. That was a special just for Dave Ware deck, and I sent it to him because he designed it. But actually, the new version of that graphic, I don't know if you can see too well, but it is transparent and it's lower at this point. That's called the Milk Funnel. But yeah, I think you have the only one that's full white background like that, and it's
Oh.
lifted up higher in the deck. And then the Bad Boy bots. There's a story on that graphic in conjunction with our other robot, full team robot graphic, is meant to tell the story of. So a big part of my history is mental health and addiction, and we have a good boy bot and a bad boy bot. You got the bad boy. I don't think I have a good boy bots on me, but it's a clean version. The one you have, they're like smoking and drinking and stuff. And that's when I was in Triple FB. That's a
Mhm.
graphic under Triple FB. And when we became Milk, we did the cleanup version, which the owner of Noise Fingerboards, was actually, he designed both of those for me based on characters that I had made out of clay 15 years ago. And then I drew up scratch paper drawings of them and showed them to him, and he made them what they are, beautiful pieces of art, in my opinion. But
He's such a
so
great
the first,
artist.
oh, dude, he's phenomenal artist, phenomenal, and thankful to him because he actually got me back into art, and I had never done digital art, but he got me interested in it, and now I'm doing all the art for Milk, and thanks to John as well, Fesco. He's helped me along the way of doing that as well. But yeah, so the Bad Boy Box is the dirty version, and it tells a story of this team of robots getting their shit together pretty much and getting on the right path and cleaning up their act and going from running the streets like hoodlums to sitting in your room and playing with fingerboards, you know?
No, I love it.
Yeah.
So, for someone who's looking to purchase a deck from you, kind of go through like the different shapes and sizes that you basically offer for milk.
Okay. So we started off with two molds, the 2% and the whole mold. They both have flat nose or popsicle shapes initially. And we did anywhere 32, 34, and 36 on both of them. We started doing the egg shape. That's a newer shape. We have the egg shape now for 2%. And we also started doing 29 millimeter only for 2% currently. We have a new mold releasing soon. It's going to be called the skim mold. The skim is going to it's going to introduce old school shapes like bowl shapes. It's going to introduce a entirely new shape that I'm going to call the street shape. And it'll cross reference into the 2% mold. So the 2% and the skim have the same wheelbase, and whatever shapes that I can do on the skim, I can do on the 2%. So we're going to have this new street shape coming out, which is it's a popsicle with a pointier nose. So it's like a popsicle egg mixture. So you'll be able to get that here pretty soon. Actually, on the next drop I have coming up, I'll be releasing 15 skim milk decks just to get the feelers out there and see if anybody likes them. And so yeah, we got flat nose popsicle, uh, the bowl shape, old school cruiser, eggy, and street shape.
Gotcha. And so which one is the one that's got the really deep concaves?
Okay, so anybody wants to check that out, we have a shape guide on Instagram, but I'll explain the difference between 2% and whole is they're both very similar, super similar. The whole milk is 2 millimeters longer than the 2%, split down the middle. So it has the
Hmm,
same length on the tail and nose length. However, there's a zero point 0.5 millimeter difference in kick and 0.25 millimeter difference in concave. They have the same length of concave, so meaning the dips, the pockets are the same degree of sharpness as far as how they contour into the concave, but the concave itself is different by 0.25. So there's a lot of confusion with this because they're super close on kicks and you can hardly tell. The 2% is actually higher kick, lower concave, and vice versa for the whole milk. The new
gotcha.
skim milk, yeah, yep. So they're just complete opposites of each other, except for stretch. The whole milk is 2 millimeter longer, split down the middle. So everything else the same besides the wheelbase. So it's 55 on the 2%, 57 on the whole milk. And then the new skim coming out in comparison to the 2% or in comparison to the whole milk is 0.5 millimeter lower nose, same degree on the tail, and 0.25 higher concave. So it has the highest concave out of either molds, but it has a lower kick. And it's the same wheelbase as the 2%.
Okay. Do you have a estimated timeline as far as those might be able to be available to the public?
The skim molds, okay,
Hmm.
so the next they'll be on the next drop. I've been getting this question a lot, is when the next drop is. We did a lot of releases this year. I released almost 40 graphics this year,
That's
which
insane.
which is a lot of graphics. I was doing them every 2 weeks, so almost 40, about 30 something graphics this year. Holidays came up, tax season, etc. After we actually just got our tax forms back. I did today. Maybe you guys did too. But after I pay my taxes, I'm going to announce the next drop. So I would say maybe a month.
Okay, so that's actually pretty quick.
I don't have
So,
a set date yet.
so at the time of this release, we're talking probably like a week or two. So
Yeah, it's pretty close. It's pretty close. I needed some time to. So, like I said, this is the best year we've had with milk. We've done better than we ever had.
I know you've been killing
And
it in the groups and like if you get your hands on a milk deck, like it's considered gold. I mean, it's people absolutely love your stuff.
I've sold out every drop since all the last batch of graphics that I designed 100% on my own. Every single drop sold out. I usually do the last two drops were a little smaller drops because they were a collab and then a limited drop for special tie dye decks that I called Galaxy decks, Milky Way. But usually a drop is anywhere between 60 and 100 decks, and they've sold out every time, and I'm super. I can't even believe it. I really can't. But we did great, and with that, I've had a lot of learning to do. I'm not really a tax professional or a business professional in any sense of the word at all. I didn't do any of the things that you should be doing as a business owner besides making sure I had statements available. Probably going to owe the government a good amount of money, which thankfully we're all good. I got it covered, but I got to see that through before I can do another drop pretty much.
No, I understand. You gotta make sure Uncle Sam gets his cut first.
If anybody hears this and is worried about that at all, we're all good. We just got to, we got to handle that business before we move forward.
No, I understand. I understand that completely. So, what is your favorite go-to as far as deck and size?
For my deck,
Hmm. Like, what do you ride in? What is your like personal preference?
so for the longest time, it was a 2% 34 flat nose. In the past couple months, I have switched to two. I there's two different shapes that I'm in love with right now, and that's the 32 millimeter 2% popsicle and the 34 millimeter 2% egg.
Okay, okay. Not too shabby. I'm sure you got some past collaborations, and I'm sure you probably got some future collaborations as well.
Yeah, man. So most recently, actually, I'll start. So I have a couple brands out there that I have given permission to use my likeness. I guess we'll call it a collab, but really it's just them using my likeness to produce product and sell on their website. I don't sell any of it on my website at all. So I've allowed Sewer Alien to produce tape under my branding. He has a specific pack that you can buy that has the one of my graphics on it. It's the waffle graphic. It's the bottom print of a Vans shoe. My logo Authentica stamped right in the middle. And then also Meltbox 3D printing actually prints a. Actually, I have one right here. He can print a milk coffin for you, and when you open it up, it's got a little my milk carton there in the center.
Is that a magnetic box too?
Yeah, it's magnetic, and
That's baller.
yeah, it's pretty cool, dude. And it's got a little tray so you could put your stuff together. It has a you could take this divider out here so you could put, bushings and tools up here. It fits 3 setups. It's a super cool little box that I was enthralled with. So I said, hey man, he actually hit me up and wanted to make one for me. And I said, well, if you want to, sure. And he had to go through all this work to design it. So I said, why don't you just sell that, dude? And he has been since. So,
Hmm.
oh, and then also, we just recently did a collab with Kyle from Double Joint. It was a limited collab. It had 20 decks and one graphic, and then the next day we did a secret release, and it was 5 decks of another graphic.
I like it. I can't wait for this one.
Yeah. Well, that one just went past maybe between 3 weeks and a month ago, or 3 to 6 weeks ago, or something.
I missed it. I always miss drops. I'm the worst for drops.
So I am too. Trust me. Trust me.
Man, that's wild. All right, so this is probably a great time to do our listen to win. Michael's going to be giving away a Milk collab deck with double joint, correct?
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, so we are looking for a person to do a fakey bigger flip. It could be anywhere, inside, outside, but needs to be a fakey bigger flip. And you also have to tag both milk.fbs and USAFBL along with USAFBL underscore FBP. So this isn't a who does it the best. This is more of a who does it first. So the first person who can record and edit and tag us with your best or your only, I guess you would say, fakey bigger flip is going to win this Milk collab deck. Now, if you have the ability to do this on a Milk fingerboard deck, then you'll get a second Milk collab deck. Big time stuff. I love it.
Yep. And here they are right here.
And so we'll also get you a picture of that as well. I'm pretty stoked on these. These are awesome.
They're all 34. There's two popsicles, three popsicles. Yep.
Okay. Okay.
2%. 2%.
2%. So you heard it here. Faker bigger fakey bigger flip. Do you have team writers?
I do. Thanks for asking, man. Good guys too. Some of them been around since before. Actually, crazy story. Before I was triple FB, they were just buds. They've been around a while. Some of them are newer, but yeah, we got 6 guys on the team. Five guys on the team. I'm the sixth guy. I'm not on the team though.
You're team captain.
Yeah, I guess so. You want to call it, throw a wrench at him. Wow. Yeah, that's funny. So yeah, man. So we got Alex Nugs.fb. We got Brad Ladyfingers.fb. We got John Blue Collar Fingers. We got Corey CBob.fb. We got Andrew.fb. Good guys, all of them, man. Super talented. Some of them are a little more active than others, but all of them super super talented guys in their own different ways. Some of them just have super good, consistent flow. Some of them are super technical. Some of them have super amazing filming and technical. Some of them are a combination of all. And some of them have that like skateboarder vibe that I've heard you talk about
Yeah,
on
yeah.
past, and you can just tell that they're like 90s vibe skateboarder, Kareem Campbell type, you know.
No, definitely. No, I get that. I know Nugs. I've met him a few different times, especially at Dave Ware's spot and at the Atlanta uh, USA Tour stops. Ladyfingers, I've seen that handle before. I'm just not getting a face to the handle, but I'm pretty
You've
sure I met
met
him.
him. Yeah, you met him at the Philly event. He's the guy with the super long hair and
Was he
probably,
with you at the event? He came in with you originally at
yeah,
registration, all that?
psychedelic
Okay.
pants
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, hippie
Right on.
guy. Yeah, he's
I
cool.
remember him now. Shout out to him. Do you have any hobbies that people may not know?
Yeah, so like I said, I played in bands growing up. So I played guitar forever and I skateboarded forever. And I just got out of that. And I was a collector, collected things for a long time. I work on cars a lot, sometimes not by choice, but I do enjoy it. Yeah, man, pretty much guitar and skateboarding have been hobbies that I've had throughout my lifetime. And then, of course, being as a young man doing hood things with my buddies, I guess you would say, you know.
Man, all right. So, do you have any future projects that are in the works this year?
Yeah, so we got the new mold coming out in a bunch of new shapes. Couple new shapes and a bunch of different sizes. And we're gonna do the same thing we did last year. I'm gonna try to get through 40 graphics this year.
That's
I'm gonna try
a
to yeah, I'm gonna
that's
try
a
to make it to 40.
crazy goal. I love it. I'm here for it.
I like to when I start seeing people receive their last packages, my goal is to be releasing the next graphic. If you didn't get it last week, you can get it this week.
I love it. That's
Which
extremely ambitious. Might be I don't want to tell you that you're doing too much, but man, you're doing a lot.
it gets uh, sometimes I got to take a break, dude, because it's constant, dude. And I'm not trying, to sound like the guy that's like, oh no, that's too much work or whatever. But it's a lot, and you got to take a break, especially with, I have kids, like many of us. I have a daytime job. It gets crazy sometimes, and then a lot of people don't realize the background stuff. You're not only like, it's not all that you see on the internet. I not only do I got to make press and do all that with the decks, I got to make sure the website's good. I got to make sure I have packaging. I got to make sure I have supplies and materials and do research for this and that. And you don't want to be stagnant. You also want to be better
Hmm.
tomorrow than you were today. So it's always constant, but that's, I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it. It's a passion project that if you work hard enough, it can turn into something. This year has proven to me that this can be something. And I say it all the time. If I were to quit my job right now and I put all my time into milk, I could probably, I could 100% live off of it. 100%. That's just the scariest thing, you know. It gives me anxiety talking about it. So that's just, to be able to make something that you love last, you got to work at it. So that's what we're doing.
No, definitely. You've put together a legacy. I want to basically pretty much call legacy. You basically created a legacy, and you've done it in a very short period of time too, in my opinion. So that's impressive.
I hope so, man. Because I do always say as a creator, you're not as good in your head as other people perceive you. So I still to this day, I get follows from people and I'm like, holy crap, that guy's following me. You know, one of the creators of the industry or
Hmm.
whatever, or, whoever it might be, Beast Pants or Cowply or whoever, which when you see those, I still am like, oh my God, dude, this is crazy. And then I just go back to we're all just dudes.
Yeah, it's weird for me too because like, we don't really see ourselves as like this higher being. And so like we're just people that just like to create things. And so like for us, like it's cool for us to have our fanboy out moments and like we actually see like people that we love and respect and stuff like that actually following like the things that we're doing, the liking the things that we're creating. And it's always such a great unreal feeling as well.
It is, and it's funny because there's people doing that to us, and we don't even
Mhm.
realize it, or we may
Yeah.
realize it, but we just don't believe. It's like, why are you following me, dude? You know, like, but I guess, I mean, like I said, you don't perceive yourself. You look in the mirror and see something. Maybe it's brand dysmorphia, and we can coin that term if you would like to.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I think I have a big case of brand dysmorphia where I think that I don't know. I still can't, I just can't, I just can't say thank you enough to anybody who's ever supported me or shared or done anything to help myself or the fingerboard industry at all, dude. Because growing for one of us is growing for all of us.
No,
And,
most definitely.
and it's word of mouth, dude. You know, create your own hype.
That is the hardest things to do, is create your own hype. I feel like I'm unnaturally good at it, but at the same time, it's one of those things that definitely necessary.
You gotta have, I think it comes down to relationship with your community with that as well. You can't just create a false hype.
That's true.
You
There are
gotta
levels to
be
it.
able to back it up, at least be able to back up that game, and if you mess up, be able to fix it.
I agree 100%. So we've actually got some questions from the internet. So we posted on Instagram, Facebook, let people know that we've got Milk Fingerboards on the mic, and we've actually got a few great questions that weren't already part of the show. So let's get into it. So, question number one: what's one thing that you wish you could do differently that you look back on now?
For my brand specifically,
I would probably say yes towards your fingerboarding brand.
towards my fingerboard brand, not like, because there's a big difference there. Um, with my brand, I probably I would have still got my start playing Freebird like we talked about, but I wouldn't have played Freebird under Triple FB. I wish I would have rebranded from bread to milk or something, you know. Like, yeah, I wish it was the Triple FB is kind of, I've gone to events in there and they'll go, well, what was your old brand? And I'm like, I don't even really want to say it, dude. You know, like,
All right, question number two: how long have you been growing your beard, and do you have any growing tips?
there's this little bit of a story behind that. I had grown when my daughter, my youngest daughter, when she was born. I started growing my beard just shortly before she was born. We said, all right, I'll shave it when she's 1 years old. We didn't want to do it because we were afraid that she would forget who I am after I shaved and she wouldn't realize who I was and get scared. So we waited until 2. We didn't do it then, afraid for the same reason. Well, come to the age where she could, we would ask her, do you want daddy to shave my beard? She would say no every year. Well, this year she turned 5. She said yes this time. Daddy, go ahead and shave it. So it was probably down to here, and it was a 5-year beard.
Oh, wow.
After that, she said shave it. So I shaved it off, and she had a mental breakdown. My wife was at work. I'm like alone with her, like, no, stop, you know? So after that, I shaved it off and I was like, baby, it's going to take years to grow back. For some reason, it grew back in like a month. It's not all the way there yet, but this one isn't even it's about not even into a full year yet.
That's crazy.
I don't know how it did it. I told her, look, the last one took 5 years. This one's going to probably take 5 years too.
That's wild. Yeah, I can't grow a beard. It's patchy. I got a 5 hair mustache. Like it's just not happening for me. They say like it'll get older, like it'll grow, and I'm almost 40 now. And it's just not happening. So
Why don't you try one of those little rollers that they
I've
have?
tried all of that, and like it helps it, but it doesn't make it full. It's still patchy. And so I don't know. It's
Maybe
weird.
you're Indian.
Maybe. I don't know what it is. It's I'm cool with it, I'll be honest with you. Like almost everybody I know though that has like really great beards, they'll bald faster or they'll start losing their hair faster. Like really hairy people, like hairy chest, hairy arms, like I feel like they just bald a lot faster than people who don't. That's just my like observations, but at least for me,
So
like I'll probably have a full head of hair until I die, so
So I do have a slightly receding hairline. It's not too bad. I don't think I'm going to go bald, but we'll see.
I hear you. You got to take the good with the bad.
Yeah, dude.
Lose it up top, grow it down low, vice versa, whatever works for you.
Yeah, does the carpet match the drapes? I don't know.
I don't know that low, but yeah.
I don't know.
All right, let's get to question
Beautiful.
number three. All right, so what motivates you the most when it comes to your fingerboarding business?
We talked about brand dysmorphia. I think I've always had mental health issues, dude, and I think that I seek pleasure. And I did it for the longest time, seeking pleasure in the wrong places. I was a hopefully I can talk about this. I was addicted to heroin for many years, many years, many times trying, rehab more times than I could count trying to get sober. And when I finally did it, you kind of left empty. You want something to fill that and to get your spark back in your brain that you might have been beaten down for so long,
Mhm.
and covering with a blanket of negative sources. And I think that this is one of those. It's a hobby that gives me, when I make spend all this time making these decks for people, they receive a package and I see them post a video of the package they got, and I see, or they might message DM me and tell me, dude, whatever they say, I love this deck, I love your brand, I love thank you, pretty much they say this. And I think that drives me, because it's like, all right, even though, like we talked about, it's a lonely place here in Delaware fingerboarding wise, I still have all the people who do appreciate me, whether they're in Canada, California, uh, Ireland, wherever you're at, Germany, you're a milk supporter, and I feel you. Every time you post something, I see it. Might not always have the time to respond with it, but I'm definitely seeing every last post that anybody posts, and I think it gives me like it fills the void that I was trying to fill with all these things that I shouldn't have been filling it with for many years as a young man. And even as an adult, you got to have something. I think this is just my something right now. I say all the time, "Long live milk," and I think it's going to ring true for a long time.
Right on. It's really in depth. I love it. I feel the same way. It's like with USFBL, this is a hobby that I have not felt this good about. And I think that's the reason why I'm doing all the things that I'm doing as well. Because when I'm listening to your story, I'm just like, man, like this is like, because someone asked me the other day, like, why do you do what you do? Like, you don't even make any money on any of this stuff. And I'm like, no, I mean, it's not really about the money, but it's just like, I've actually, now that you kind of mentioned it, like that's exactly how I feel. Like I've actually never felt like this good about a hobby like ever. And so with any hobby, you don't go into a hobby like looking to make money. And so I've been doing what it sounds like you're doing as well. It's like we're just creating things just for the pure joy of just creating things.
You're trying to give yourself happiness. That's what we're all
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
That's
That's
what we're all
absolutely
doing, man.
wild that you put those in the words. Like I literally felt that in my soul. I'm like, holy cow. Okay. Well, I'm sure you've got a long list of shout outs that you want to give out to.
Yeah, I'll try to remember everybody. I got a bunch written down. If I miss people, I apologize. I'm horrible with timelines, so I'm sure I missed many things in this podcast, etc. So, of course, the team, we got Nugs FB, Lady Fingers FB, Blue Collar Fingers, Bob FB, Andrew.FB, Keelan Wysocki, Red Wolf, Kyle with Double Joint, your mom's favorite fingerboard, Caden, Opportunist Fingerboards, who has helped me a lot with making shapes, Made by Me, Marcus Kramer, Warehouse Ramps, Dave Ware, Sewer Alien, Anthony, Alec JFB, big supporter, Drew Kenrick, big supporter, John TCG makes phenomenal content on YouTube. Blistered Fingerboards, Bailey, these guys in the group, Sean Cinderling, super amazing supporter of Milk, Focal Point, and then of course you, Levine, for doing all that you do for the fingerboard industry, giving us content every day to listen to at work, putting on the the tour that we can make it to do something fun at least once a year. If we can get out of our hectic lives at least one time a year and go to the USAFBL Philly event, whatever happens the rest of the year, so be it, right? So a big shout out to you, man.
I appreciate that. I've got a few shout outs as well. So, first off, if you're listening to this before anybody else on our Patreon account, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for all the love and support. Also, if you're not on our Patreon account, where are you at? So, getting on our Patreon account helps support the channel, helps support a lot of the basically projects that we have going on, including the podcast, Combo of the Year, the summer tour, just all kinds of cool stuff that we do. And so that helps us out tremendously. We also have subscription boxes. And don't forget, we've got cool teas from Curved, USIPL, all that cool stuff on there as well. So thank you guys for all that love and support. Also, finger the like button. If you made it this far, definitely like, share, subscribe. Definitely subscribe to the channel. Mike, where can people find you online?
All right, man. So, of course, we got Instagram at milk.fbs. We have the website. It's www.milkfingerboards.com. If you're in on Facebook, join any and all of the groups. I'm in all of them. I am an either an administrator or a moderator in probably all of them. I will say that I'm not an active moderator, but if you want to message me, I'll be glad to help and talk to you. My name's Michael Tucker. I go through my personal accounts in all those groups. So if you want to talk, if you have any questions, I'm there, and I'm sure it's the same for Levi.
Well, Mike, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for coming on to the show.
Thank you, sir.
And as always, till next time.